right, trivia time. Name Idaho's tallest building. For the last nearly 10 years, it's been the Zions Bank Building in downtown Boise, sitting on the corner of 8th and Main. And if you've been around these parts for at least that long, you know that corner has some history to it, and not all of it good. For more than 2 decades, it was an empty eyesore for the city of Boise, a blemish that began just after midnight on this day 36 years ago. It had stood on the corner of 8th and Main since 1905. Designed by Tortolet & Company, the same architects of the state capitol, the Overland was first built as a 4-story office building, a nod to 19th century Italian architecture, complete with terracotta cornices and clay lion heads. By 1910, another 2 levels were added, and the 6-story structure became the Eastman in 1927. Nearly 5 decades later, the city of Boise bought the building under its urban renewal plan in 1972, which is why the Eastman sat empty for another 15 years, often offering refuge to the city's homeless. It was then, in the early morning hours of January 24th, 1987, when Boise Fire Department responded to a report of smoke coming out of the building.
There was no chance of saving the building. When firefighters arrived on the scene, flames were already eating away at the building on 4 different floors. The heat was causing windows to explode, shattering glass on those below. More than 100 firefighters showed up to battle the blaze, which destroyed the Eastman building in downtown Boise.
We had an individual on the fire escape in the alley, and that fire escape came down to within about 30 feet of the ground, and we had to take a 35-foot ladder to get him off of there.
This morning, most of the flames are gone, but there's still a lot of smoke. Firemen say most of the floors inside the building have collapsed, and the fire chief is planning on ordering the dousing of the flames to stop. Otherwise, the building will turn into a big ice cube.
And by the light of the next day, the downtown landscape had changed.
The Eastman building is dangerously close to collapse. Spot fires are still flaring up here and there, but firefighters have stopped dousing the structure with fire hoses. The water is turning this building into a giant ice cube, making the rubble even more hazardous. In a heartbreaking decision, the City Council and BRA have given the fire department permission to demolish the structure. Developer Larry Leisure, who was going to renovate the building, says preserving even just the facade is now out of the question.
But I think everyone now feels that because of the very precarious nature of those 2 walls that are remaining, it would be very difficult to do so, and it's frankly right now quite dangerous.
There is one part that might be salvageable, these terracotta cornices. The clay lion's heads are very rare, and losing them would be tragic, according to historian Arthur Hart.
They have enormous dollar value as well as aesthetic and historic value. So they're certainly worth saving if we can do it without risking human life.
The Eastman building, standing here since 1905, was on the National Register of Historic Places. Once a historic landmark in Boise, it is now just a dangerous, crumbling old building. And though this is a terrible loss for Boise, BRA members insist the fire will not delay other redevelopment projects downtown.
They insisted. The Eastman building burned for more than a day, and as many of you know, that corner, that lot specifically, became renowned for redevelopment delays. It was first destined to be demolished in 1978 to make room for a downtown mall. But those plans were pushed south, which we now know as Bodo, but was then called the 8th Street Marketplace. Ownership of 8th and Main would change hands several times since that day, and that corner soon became known as the Hole after one developer tried to build on it but stopped after digging it out and leaving it with a hole and exposed rebar. Then in 2011, the Gardner Company bought it and made it into Idaho's tallest 17-story Zions Bank building, the one we know as downtown today. Eastman's lion's heads, by the way, that they were hoping to save, they all broke when that building collapsed. But there is one on display inside the Zions Bank building lobby today. And there's also there was an arch that was there. The Eastman Arch, the doorway there, that was also salvaged, and that's sitting in Pioneer Park on Grove Street in downtown Boise. One of the 2 men that you heard mentioned by the fire chief there, who had to be rescued from the building the night of the fire, one of those men ended up being charged with second-degree arson a few weeks later.